So we'll talk
Yep.
about the two goats motif and how does Jesus fulfill that typological thread that runs through the Torah up into Leviticus and then is recapitulated in some New Testament texts through Jesus. Before we jump into that, we have to know so the two goats that I'm talking about are the two goats from Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement. And so, real quickly, Phil, can you tell us what is the Day of Atonement? What are some of the processes, especially with the goats? And what does the Day of Atonement do? What's its function?
Yeah. It's not a small question. So by the time you read about Day of Atonement, it's chapter 16 in Leviticus, and it's the center. So if you know anything about chiasms, the center often helps you understand what's on either side. And as the Bible Project would say, Hebrew scriptures are designed to be read forwards and backwards, and you probably won't understand in its entirety the fullness of it until you understand what's at the center. And then I kind of liken it to standing on top of a bridge. So once you're on top of the bridge, you can see both sides. You can see up and down each side, and it makes a whole lot more sense.
I like that.
Yeah, so you kind of walk up the bridge, journey from the beginning of the book to the middle. You can see it. You journey down the other side, but then you go back and yeah. Um, so Day of Atonement's in the middle, which means that it must be kind of a pivot point. Um,
Well, what's it in the middle of?
well, yes. So in the middle of Leviticus, but also in the middle of the Torah. And Leviticus itself is in the middle of the Torah. So two books on either side. You've got Exodus and Numbers that bracket Leviticus. They're both narratives of wandering in the wilderness. They actually both, so Carmen Imes has helped me with this. She shows how many of the events in Exodus and Numbers mirror each other. So I think it's designed to draw your focus to Leviticus, where time just stops. It's all set in the one place at Mount Sinai. They're in the wilderness, but they're meeting God. And I think basically that's the whole point of Leviticus. It's how do you meet God? How do you draw near to a holy God? And how is God going to live in the midst of his people? And that when humans get involved, that becomes messy. And so how Leviticus is the book that explains how that's going to happen, and sacrifice is part of that picture.
And with this being the center,
So
not
before
only
you
of
get to
Leviticus,
Dave,
but of the Torah, like this is
yeah, yep,
effectively the point of the Torah. So keep that in mind. This is a central core idea.
yep. So when you start reading about Day of Atonement, you've already read about all the sacrifices. You've read about all the priestly instructions of purifying altars and purifying priests. So that all has to happen first. And then Day of Atonement, basically, such a big topic to try and to distill down, but you can't understand the word atonement, I don't think, without the whole Day of Atonement. And it's not just a single act. So Tyndale invented the word atonement because he thought it meant something to at one meant. So he thought it meant becoming at one with God, which is great until you realize atonement is made for an altar and for a tent. So becoming at one with a tent isn't something that you'd probably want to do. So atonement has something to do with wiping away or cleansing impurity and wiping away or removing sin and impurity. So you have the two goats, which we'll talk about a lot, I guess. And one goat is a sin offering, a sacrifice that is primarily used as a cleansing tool. So it comes, the lifeblood of the animal is used to cleanse the altar and the mercy seat. So no one ever went into the most holy place, where the mercy seat is, which is where God's presence appeared. The high priest only went in once a year. And so you have two goats. One of them, the lifeblood of that unblemished goat, goes all the way into holy space and cleanses the space. And then after the space has been cleansed, then the other goat has all of the iniquities and transgressions and sins of all of Israel placed on its head, and that's sent out of the camp. So you're basically cleansing the space, the tabernacle and the space, and then you're removing the sin outside the camp to cleanse the space and the people. So at the end of the day, the people are atoned for and the space is atoned for, and they're cleansed. So at the end of Leviticus 16 it says, and at the end of the day, the people were cleansed, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and so just to orient around, you got into a little bit of like the function there. And so would it be better to call it the day of purgation, the day of purging, or the day of purification, something like that? Does the Day of Atonement really capture it all that well?
Yeah, yeah, I have been wondering what word is best because atonement has a lot of baggage. But yeah, the day of cleansing or the day of removal, it's removal's half of it. It's a
Right.
purification and a cleansing as well, or a wiping away. So yeah, I haven't landed on a word that I
I
like
mean,
yet.
scholars go back and forth on what are the best terms, but I think kind of just naming all those things, it kind of gives you the idea that again, yeah, this is about that the point is purification, cleansing the camp, removing things, you're purging the uncleanness away, and so there's a lot of ideas going on, but you get the idea that at one-ment with the altar, with the tent, or something like that. That's not entirely the whole idea. There's a removal of something, and that's what that go away goat, the goat for Azazel, the scapegoat, whatever you want to call it there. That's what that one's doing. And the other one, the blood of the sacrificed goat, is being spiritual soap to facilitate that cleansing. Um,
Kind of like the word restoration. So you're restoring something, the space, and the people back to their ideal state.